What did Messiah 2030 just say? Everybody calm down. We are going to see a rapture before any seals are open. We are going to see a rapture before the tribulation begins. All these things that the Bible says that are going to happen after the rapture will affect the tribulation saints and the Jews and the rest of the world, non-believing world that will not believe no matter what you do or put in front of them. So, yeah, I saw his video today too. And listen, I have a timeline. Everybody knows that. And I believe the timeline is accurate. Uh, Test upon test, every single date I find, it all matches and fits perfectly. And I get a lot of stuff that people send me trying to give me other timelines or other ideas, and that's fine. And if you have a high watch date, I'm watching. You could be right, but I am focused on this timeline uh, because I think there's going to be two timelines that will be accurate. The one I think that I've found after years and years of research and studying the Bible for every single date, and they have to match. Like Noah's flood gives us 11 different dates, and each date falls on an important date that coincides with something else. Um, and so, when, in my opinion, the Bible says, as in the days of Noah, I think we're supposed to go in and look at as in the days of Noah, but it also says that Israel's our timepiece. So we see very unique thing happen this year. It will not happen again. I think it's 19 years where the Jews will say that on Christmas Day, it is the beginning of Hanukkah. I asked Kevin Spinebreaker to look back at 4 BC to see if Hanukkah fell on Christmas Day back then. And he said, in fact, it did. 4 BC, because there's no zero year, technically is 3 BC. So when you're doing your math, 3 BC to our current time now, which is 2024, meaning 2027 and a half years ago, Jesus was born. And so the timeline does not give us the date of the rapture, but it gives us a foundation for which to know when all of the things happened in the history of the Bible. And of course, I use the equilux, the day of equal day, and not the equinox. But people who cite, they will cite and say, well, I've adapted the 364-day year and I'm starting it here at this moon. Well, Enoch has a very strict warning about using the moon. He said the moon is now unreliable because it doesn't come in correctly each year and it falls 10 days too soon. And we see that 354 days as opposed to 364. And so I don't actually have, I actually have not done the math from creation. I only know that Adam was in the garden for 7 years and 47 days, and he sinned. And then 45 days after he sinned on October the 31st or November the 1st, 45 days later on Tevet 1, God removed Adam. So we have this 47 and 45, and that bothered me. That bothered me for a long time. Like, why didn't you do 47 and 47 or 45 and 45? Or why is the combination of the both equal 92? 92 days from the head of the year of September the 15th until Tevet 1, which I have to look it up. I think it's December the 16th. Why 92 days? What does that have to do with anything? But then somebody made a video and their piece of the puzzle fell in place for me. Donald Trump, and could No, I don't want to say that Donald Trump is, of course, you know from my videos that I only was interested in Donald Trump being in there because, in my opinion, he's the only one that would have caused the world to say peace and safety. And as the pre-tribulational rapture bride, we're not looking for peace and safety. That event is going to come, in my opinion, and that's open for debate, but I think it's coming after we're gone. They will say that after we have left, but we, as a instrument, God has allowed us. We know that God has allowed us to be involved in the salvation of other people. It's a wonderful gift, honestly, and I cherish that as I make videos, hoping and praying that somebody will hear it and sense the urgency in my videos, and go ahead and go and accept the Lord and say, you know what, all this stuff can't be wrong. All this stuff that we're seeing, the movies have done a really good job at downplaying what this world is actually all about. And it's actually all about Jesus. It's actually all about Jesus. And the world's done a very good job to convince you that, okay, now you believe in Jesus. All right, fine. But you got to do stuff. It's not free. You've got to work for it. You've got to go get baptized. You've got to go do, community service. You got to donate money. You've got to do all these things because your salvation is at risk, just like convincing Eve that there was more than what she currently had. He convinced her that there was more than what God had given her, and that if she would just bite that apple, then her mind would be opened and she would be more than what she was. But she didn't realize she was already perfect. She didn't need any more than what she already had. And that's been the lie of Satan. Let's convince them that this whole biblical thing is a lie and none of it's real. But if they start believing, let's convince them that they have a bunch of work to do. And I know several channels, I'm subscribed to them because they will bring good pieces of information that I could use in my videos, pieces of the puzzle. Um, are we a false prophet if we say, I don't, the Lord doesn't say this, but I'm seeing this date. This date is jumping up. We're all seeing 11/11, right? Well, it passed. But did it? I mean, it did pass, but did it mean that date, or perhaps a time, or perhaps God just getting our attention? And we say, well, maybe we aren't supposed to be searching for the rapture today. Then why does God cause earthquakes to just like rise up exponentially and then go back down and then rise back up like birth pangs? Why did God bring Israel back into the nation in 1948 and then not have, I mean, he could have had a rapture back then, but he's made us wait. And why? Why does he do that? And I think it's because he wants to see, and again, remember, once you're saved, you're always saved. Once that blood gets on you, you can't get it off. It's like getting paint on your shirt. It ain't coming off. It's ruined. That shirt is ruined. It's over with. That shirt, uh, you either work with the paint on your shirt or you throw the shirt away. You aren't getting it off. It's the same thing with salvation. The blood of Christ gets on you. That's it. You don't choose to walk away from that. There is no one. It doesn't exist that you can choose to walk away from it. I know. I know. You will find verses. So I got a few comments, and this agitates people when I say there's only 153 million kings and priests in the pre-tribulational rapture. Of course, there will be family members that go because God said you might save your whole house. There will be children under the age of accountability. I don't know what age that is. Uh, we have work that out in several different ways. Is it 18 and under, 20 and under? Is it when a child becomes aware that they shouldn't do this or they should do that? We don't know. But I can promise you that God is fair, 100% fair. And there will be no question as to why, if a child, I don't know. I don't want to say if a child's left, but if a child's left, there will be a reason why. So if God says, what are these guys are crazy setting all these dates, then why did he give us so much? Why every time we turn around, we're seeing 11:11? Why does Israel become a nation? It's because God is warning us, therefore we are warning you. And if and again, my timeline is not a date setting timeline as far as when the rapture is going to occur. It is when the events actually happened back then. Um, so I will see a date coming up, for example, and I don't want to go to December. I don't want to go to December. Spinebreaker's actually looking at tomorrow. There's some things coming up. So that's very interesting. I want to look at every possible scenario to give hope to the bride. But if you are wrong, spine breaker, you're a false prophet and you're not going to heaven. And that's ridiculous. There's so many of us. And they've coined a phrase of moving the goalpost and this and that. And if that were true, that would mean that God's moving a goalpost as well. And that's not the case. God is using these dates and these things that are Israel got invaded on October the 7th. You can't deny that. Why didn't the rapture happen right after that? 1 year passed. Why didn't the rapture happen? All of these different things, you think we're doing it. We're not doing it. God is performing all of these things. Did you see Brother Dana's video on the distance, that earthquake that happened? What was it, 6.8? And he did the math on it, and you have to go watch this video, but he did the math on it and it was amazing. It was awesome. Brother Dana puts out some amazing videos, and I love watching those types of videos. And again, I don't know. I know that Adam was in the garden 7 years and 47 days, and he sinned in the second month, in the 17th day of that month. I know the flood began in the eighth month. Did I say second? In the eighth month and 17th day. For them, it was the second. I know that God in Exodus 12 moved the calendar 6 months. So they actually overlap. So the first month is the seventh month. And if you go and overlap them, you will see a lot of events mirrored. You will see that that the head of the year now mirrors perfectly 182, and then the 183rd day is September the 15th, which is Tishri's 1. So as we go forward, I'm going to obviously continue to do what I've been doing for almost 7 years, and I will continue to work on the timeline. If there's any dates that anybody sees in the timeline that aren't on there that they can prove happened, like a date in the Bible, I'll put it on the timeline and see how it works out. Now, when is the rapture going to occur? I don't know, but I'm going to give you my best guess every single time I make a video. What I'm never going to do is go back on what I have been saying for the past 7 years. It is a pre-tribulational rapture. We are in heaven. Before Jesus even takes the scroll, we're standing in heaven. When John shows up, he's weeping because he knows that his time is at the end of the 7 years. He knows that he wants Jesus or somebody to show up and take that scroll and open up the seals. Are the seals a judgment? Yes, all of the seals are a judgment. To state that the seals have already begun to be open, you might see a mirror event or things that did happen in the past that would show seals, but no, they haven't been opened yet. Not a single seal has actually been opened. Again, I warn you of a date coming up based on the timeline or a similitude of something that happened 6 months ago. God does the same thing. He does the same exact thing as we see these events take place. They just voted, I forget how many, 52, 54 countries just voted to split Jerusalem. We know exactly what that means in the Bible. It's written right there. Why didn't God cause the rapture to happen when that came out? It's because more and more people, well, first of all, the date is set. The date was always set. never changed. It was set on a day that so far we haven't figured out. But as we go, all these events start taking place. We're like, oh, wait a second, that just happened. You know what I'm saying? So then I get, and it's okay. I like the comments. I don't like judgmental comments from keyboard warriors sitting on the couch that don't actually study and that are just listening to everybody else's video and then saying, well, that guy said this, so I'm going to follow him. Go ahead, follow him. They might be right, you know. That's and you know, subscribing to a channel does not save you, so it's irrelevant. But I made the statement that 153 million, it's written right in Revelation 5:11. It's written right there. There is an exact number. Now, this infuriates people because you're trying to hedge your bet. If I have one of the 150, think about all the people, all the children, all the wives, all the family members. No, this 153 million are those who will come back with Jesus and go to war. And so we will come back at the end of the 7 years. The 153 million doesn't sound like a large number, but look at the subscribers that we get. It's not very many. Go anywhere. I challenge you to go anywhere and ask anyone. Ask 100 people, do you know that the rapture is about to happen? And they'll look at you like you're an idiot. They will not believe you. They will say, no, no, we got plenty of time. Yeah, I go to church all the time, and my preacher hasn't said anything about that. So, no, it's not happening anytime soon. I challenge every single person who watches this video to go out and meet 100 people and come back into my comment section and say, out of the 100 people I asked, I found one person that is interested in the rapture whatsoever. Nobody else is interested. Nobody else is watching. So 153 million is not that far off. If that were the right number, it's above 100 million, less than 200 million. It's in there somewhere. And I have people going in, well, that actually means 1.5 billion. And I'm like, so 1.5 billion, and there's 8 billion people on the planet. And not a lot of those. I mean, there's a great multitude that no man can count, but how many of them are saved? How many are going to be cast in the lake of fire because they just will not believe. So when I see and believe me, Messiah 2030 has really good videos that he's made. We've all watched them, but I hate to see somebody who has taught something jump ship. That's what's unique about my timeline. There's no actual rapture dates. I said, could this be? Look at this date. This matches up. I'm saying, look at tomorrow. It matches up. And if it's wrong and the numbers don't work anymore because we went past it, that means we're wrong with our numbers. That means we're wrong. That doesn't mean that the pre-tribulational rapture is not going to happen. It doesn't mean that the rapture did already happen, and we're just waiting for those 3.5 years for us now, tribulation saints. To say that a single seal has been opened is to admit that you are a tribulation saint and that you think we're already in tribulation. We are not in tribulation. The seals have not been opened yet, and we're waiting for that blessed day when the Lord Jesus comes. He's not coming down here to the earth. He's going to meet us in the clouds. When he actually comes back to the earth, it's the end of the 7 years. And then there's another teaching out there that says, well, because the time's not working, the tribulation period is now 6 years. That is not true. Daniel's 70th week is a week. It's 7 years long. Could God shorten the time that mankind that could be saved or would be saved in that 7 year period to 6 years? Yes. You got to say it correctly. Tribulation, I don't care what anybody says, is going to last 7 years. Could God bring everyone out after 5 years? Yeah. 6 years? Yeah. Yes, he could. It says he shortens the time. It doesn't mean he shortens tribulation. It means he takes them out earlier. So I got to few pictures. I saw that Messiah. I'm off this weekend, so if I see any lives, I'll try to get in on them. But I've got a few pictures to share, not much, and I just wanted to calm everyone's nerves. Don't jump ship. I don't know what that is. Just because your math doesn't work doesn't mean the math changed. The rapture has not happened yet. The seals are not open yet. Once you're saved, you're always saved. You don't have to do anything except believe on Jesus and Jesus alone, nothing else. And when something comes up that doesn't match, they're wrong. They're wrong in trying to adhere to the date that they gave you by stating tribulation is shorter. Uh, the seals are open. They're not a judgment. Oh, yes, they are. Prove to me that the seals are not a judgment. Prove to me that the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls, all 21 of them, are not a judgment. 7 of them will be for Jesus. 7 of them will be for God. 7 of them will be for the Holy Spirit. So 21 in all, 21 things coming. Then I got others. Well, they overlap. Not what I read, but I don't know. I don't think they overlap. I think you have 7 seals, and I think in the 7th seal, when they open it, it opens up the 7 trumpets. So I have to study the 7th trumpet to see if that opens up the 7 bowls. I haven't studied that out yet, but I'm sure there will be no shortage of people, which is awesome. Not a judgment, which is awesome, that come in there and make the comments and let me know about that. Now, I love the comments, no problem. And I want them to continue. I mostly ignore comments that are rude and tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. Maybe I am, but you have to invest the amount of time that a lot of us have invested, and it doesn't save me. It's the person, and that's the point of the guy that owned the vineyard or the field, and he paid the same wage to everybody from the morning until the last person or the last group that he hired, and they only worked an hour. They got paid the same wage. He's telling us, look, there's going to be somebody at the last minute that kneels down and accepts me, and he's going to show up in heaven. He's going to get a rod. He's going to get a mansion. He's going to sit at that banquet, and he's going to rule and reign with Christ. We don't have the right to say anything about that person because that person has been elevated by the blood of Christ, like the rest of us. None of us deserve it. I don't care how much work anyone has done or how much knowledge they have attained. Doesn't matter. All of us are going there. Now, the crowns that we get, I could get, what is it, 5 or 7 crowns, and somebody else could get 1. We're all going to hand them back to Jesus. At the end of the day, Jesus gets all the crowns. The reason you do this is to, number one, get more people in the boat, like they're saying as of late, and also to get crowns, because you want to give Jesus back the crowns that you did work for, but he deserves, because he's the one ultimately that saved us. The guy that owned the field owned the field. He owned all of the whatever wheelbarrows or whatever they used to bring in the harvest, and he owned all the money that he paid out for the workers to go out and gather his product out of the field. So, humility, be humble, and exercise humility. And if you find anything, I'm always open. I love all of the comments because some of you are trying to convince me of a different timeline, which I'm just not going to. I believe the timeline is accurate, but Israel is our timepiece. So on December the 25th, for them, they will call it Hanukkah. Again, this happened at 4 BC, which means something. It means something. Many will say, well, Jesus was born on Hanukkah. That only works. That only works in a year where they use the moon and Hanukkah lands on December 25th. I'm sorry, not born, was conceived. That only works in a year where Hanukkah lands on Christmas, like it does this year. That actually only works. And that event, if I have to look, I haven't really looked. I don't think it happens again for another 19 years. I think it happens every 19 years where Hanukkah will land on Christmas Day. So it's a very unique year. I've said that all year since September, how everything, when I see an event, they're looking at another event, but it lines up with my event, and it's been really surreal actually this year how it's lined up, and the same thing happens with Christmas Day. Now, when did Jesus come here? He did not come here on September the 30th on Tabernacles when he was born. He left his rightful place in heaven and came down here to go through the entire experience of humanity when he was conceived. And when he was conceived was on December the 25th. And it just so happens that Hanukkah lines up with that this year. Now, we know that it's real simple. I mean, anybody can do this. If it's not 150 days from when they say their flood was, if they say the flood is on this day and you count 150 days later, I showed you that next year they will say Passover is, I think it lands 5 days too late and 5 days earlier than what it should if they counted out the 150 days, and they just don't. You have the days of Noah are pretty clear, 11 events that line up and show that. So let me get on with this here real quick. Share screen. And let's get this thing up out of the way and move me up out of the way and open this up right here. Where are we at right now? We have passed the flood. And again, remember, I had asked Sister Sandy if she could fix this for me. Every single day, there are 364 days in the Hebrew calendar. And but to reach the Gregorian, we have to add 4 minutes a day, or vice versa. To reach this, you would have to deduct 15 hours to come back to here. So, for example, on the day the flood began, if you add 15 hours, you wind up over here on November the 1st, which is why I could never get the timeline to land accurately. I kept saying, I don't know what to do. It's either a day behind or a day ahead, and that's why. The reason it happens is because of this 4 minutes a day that adds up. This is 15 hours and 16 minutes off. The flood does begin on Heshvan 17, but it's actually November the 1st. So where are we at right now? Where are we at right? This is the November the 15th. This is now on Kislev 1 would have been November the 14th, but Kislev 1 would be November the 15th because of the 16 hours and 12 minutes. So we're right here on Kislev 2. Spine Breaker's looking at November the 16th because the moon, I think, lands in Pleiades or something. He was working on that with Tony, the Cataclysm Tony early. They were working on it all day. I was reading and listening to what they were working on, and I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. So he's looking at November the 16th, which I will be watching. I will be watching what he's looking at. My next event, you see, it gets quiet. There are no events for me all the way up here until December. It's Kislev 24, add 17 hours. Actually, December the 16th. The thing that caught my attention from a video that I watched is this is the head of the year up here, September the 15th. Adam was in the garden for 7 years and 47 days, and he sinned right here on October the 31st, November the 1st. He sinned right here, 47 days after the head of the year, which was their head of the year back then until it was changed in Exodus 12. So he sins here, but what I found interesting was that he actually was not removed from the garden for another 45 days. He wasn't removed from the garden until Tevet 1, the 4th month and the 1st day. Of course, if you look it up, they will say new moon. It actually means new month. 45 days later, on Tevet, and it even says it in Tevet on the new moon, in Tevet on the new month. This is the new month. This is a Chodesh. This is the new month. Tevet 1, December the 15th, Adam's removed. It looks like God wants to spend Hanukkah with Adam. So I don't have a lot going on. So of course I will be watching all of your videos to see what you come up with. And again, Kevin and the Cataclysm Tony Early worked out November 16th because of the moon in Pleiades, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, we have no events that happen on a Friday or on a Tuesday. They are very quiet, except for sixth day of creation where man was created, and then third day of creation where the dry land was created. We have no events that happen. It's quiet. You see, when I did this 6 days you shall work and the seventh day you rest, um, it all landed perfectly. And actually, it starts here. Seventh day was here where you rest. So third day of creation was dry land. The sixth day of creation was mankind. And nothing happens on that day. It's absolutely quiet on Friday and Tuesday. So I'm of the mindset, and I always will be, that Amos 3:7 says, I will do nothing lest I alert or warn the prophets and the saints first. I don't know how to apply that except to say that we are going to see something major, something that we can't get out of, something that God Himself will have to stop. Nuclear bombs dropping over this entire planet, Damascus being destroyed, California, that big earthquake that causes a tsunami that surrounds the globe, a 150-foot tsunami where you have to get to high ground or you're going to be in trouble. Or the middle of the United States being split when the United States, and the way they did it, I heard that video, the way they did it was abstain. When you abstain, it means that your vote doesn't count against, or they found a way that even if they vote, that they can go against it and override it. I heard that today. I forget who was saying that. So when you split Jerusalem, guess what? God might split America, but we have to be gone. We have to be gone because all of these things that I'm describing are seals. We will not be here to see any of those seals open. So we have to be gone. So we have a period of time here that's quiet. We have 3 weeks, 3 weeks to this day plus 17 hours. Actually, we have 21 days until it shows 23, but remember these extra 4 minutes a day. So from this Chodesh, and here actually we are on this day, and then this 16th, that's the Spinebreaker and Cataclysm Tony earlier looking at. 1, 2, 3. We land on Hanukkah. And I see these comments all the time. I see these comments all the time that say, man, what a birthday present that would be. I would love to go on my birthday. That would be such a gift from God. The day you called is my birthday. And I'm always like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be a nice birthday gift, I suppose, but I think it would be a nice birthday gift for Jesus. This is the day he was conceived. Now, I don't want to go. I don't want to go that far. The flood ends here. God remembered Noah and he stopped the rain. And the boat stayed up floating for 150 days from when the flood began, and it stopped, and the waters began to recede after 150 days, which is lands perfectly on the cross as Jesus is taken down into the tomb and he goes down into Hades to lead captivity captive. That's where the ark stopped. Every calendar that everyone uses must state that the flood began, whatever date you want. I don't care what date you want the flood to begin, whatever date your calendar says. I do know this. I will only buy into your calendar or look at it if 150 days later it lands on the cross. And if the cross, if you say that this is now instead of Kislev 1, that this is now Heshvan 1, you're 30 days out. That means the cross did not happen on March 30th. It happened on April 30th. That doesn't show up on anybody's timeline, but it would have to because 150 days. All right, let me keep going here. Yeah, so I'm in a quiet period of time. I've got about 3 weeks here of quiet period of time. The next event we're going to see is when Hanukkah actually does happen. And again, Jesus was not conceived on Hanukkah. He was conceived on December the 24th at nightfall, 25th. And this year, Hanukkah, they move it down here, 17 days off. They move it down here to when they say that Hanukkah happens, and it's the same as Christmas Day right here. So that's the next event. And then in the middle of Hanukkah, right in the middle of Hanukkah, the flood ends here. It is Kislev 28, December the 11th. The flood ends right in the center of that. And this is the last day of Hanukkah. And then Adam is removed. And remember, if the other people who are doing all of this work and all of these studies, and they say we are now in the year 5993, I have to believe what they're saying because I haven't done that work to see that, in fact, we're in the year 5993 or 5994. I don't know what year we're in. But everything that's happened all year long, since the cross, since the resurrection, since um, I redid the math on Noah right here. I thought maybe they lined up here, but they don't because it has to be 40 days after the dove doesn't return for event number 9 when Noah removes the covering. It has to happen on the 7th month or the 1st month and 1st day for him, but for us, the 7th month and 1st day. So again, uh, Sister Sandy made a comment in Discord that she has updated this timeline on the website. And if you guys want to go look at it, it's right down here, www.endtime-studies.com. And you can see this, and maybe you can, like I said, I didn't know how to make sense of that 4 minutes a day until I just added it up day by day. And then that's why we can't get a perfect alignment. When we get down here to the last day of the year, Adar 31, it's actually March 16th because it's 24 hours later. So the events of Noah's flood are solid. They don't budge. The Bible gives us explicit days, and if you put them on here, you'll see that the dove and the raven are sent out here on the 10th of Av. Here's the 9th of Av, the day prior. Then the dove returns with the olive branch, and then the dove does not return. And it says 777, but from this day here it says, and 40 days later, he sat there for 40 days. 40 days later, it all lines up absolutely perfectly with the events that we see here as to when it started and everything else. The flood ends here on December the 11th, right in the middle of Hanukkah. I remember a study that I saw that says that Jesus came down in the middle of the feast, and they were not talking about tabernacles, they were talking about Hanukkah. Even though in the Bible, he says on the Feast of Tabernacles, I'm not going to go down, and then out of nowhere, he shows up. But then after that, it starts talking about the Feast of Dedication. So the thought process from this person who did that study was that halfway through Hanukkah was when Jesus went down, and it was this day, the day the flood ends. So there's a lot of events coming up that equal 5993, and then 7 years from now being 2030 or 5994 and being 2031. So we just keep studying. Why didn't the rapture happen 7 years exactly after the Revelation 12 sign? I mean, seriously, that was perfect. Revelation 12 sign happened here on October 7th. Again, October 6th plus 13 hours. It's October the 7th. And why didn't we see? Did I say October 7th? No, sorry about that. It is not October the 7th. When did here on the night of the 23rd becoming the 24th, add those 12 hours. So we have, and it also lands on the day Jesus ended the fast, Yom Kippur. Why didn't the rapture happen then? God has been pointing at all these days, just like we do, to cause somebody somewhere to say, hey, all these events are lining up. This rapture, with all this math that people are doing, is going to happen, but we keep going forward. And I think it's because God is driving us to your knees. God is driving us to our knees, and we are also, which God allows us to partake in this salvation program, warning you, and it might cause one of you to go to your knees and say, "This is scary, and I don't want to be left out of this. Please, Lord, save me, a sinner." And I accept that you, in fact, were here. You can't deny Jesus was here. I don't know who could, but you accept that and become saved. All right, what did I do here? 3 years and 6 months, November 13th. So we're counting the days. We've already passed November the 13th. Why does God give us all this math and the dates pass? It's going to happen. The rapture is going to occur. Pre-tribulation, November the 6th. This is what Kevin found, November the 16th. When I do the 364 times 3 plus 182, because that's half of 364, it comes to 1,274 days, and it lands on Saturday, November the 16th. It's already Saturday. It's the time is 6:44, John 6:44, on the 15th. So, which means it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock, 1:44 in the morning in Israel right now. So maybe Kevin's right, and it is tomorrow. The numbers add up. Instead of saying 3.5 years, from God's perspective, the Earth spinning to that stellar day is 364 in a year. That could be tomorrow. Would be very, very interesting. I just wanted to show you this again, that Hanukkah will begin on December the 25th. And Kevin went back and looked, and in fact, in 4 BC, Hanukkah fell on December the 25th. So it is right to say that, and this is another thing that gets me. I'm already starting to see the comments on Facebook about you can't celebrate Christmas because it's a tree and it's a curse and it's Ishtar. And I don't know where everybody's getting this stuff from, but here's what I see. If the rapture, let's say, which it's going to, but let's just say the rainbow is no longer a symbol of God's promise not to flood the earth. In 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, people will say, forbid you from putting up what that rainbow actually means. It actually means gay pride, right? It no longer means that God's promise. Satan is taking away instrumentally the promises of God and turning them into his own thing. Why do you think he used the rainbow? He did the same thing. Jesus was conceived on this day, but later on we go and say, well, no, actually that day has to do with this or that, and you're taking away from now. T JX Lovely, I don't remember her channel exactly. I listened to her video today, and it was amazing, and she completely cleared up for me Christmas. And Saint Nicholas, he's a saint, and he went around giving gifts to the poor. And that is where all of this came from. And then people are like, well, there's no Santa Claus. Well, there was, and he did that actually. He was actually a guy, Saint Nicholas. He was Nicholas, and he went around and he gave gifts, and that's where it came from. And then to state that there was no Saint Nicholas is an inaccurate statement, and not to know all of the details behind it is inaccurate. So to state we shouldn't celebrate Christmas, well, we shouldn't put the rainbow anything now because it means gay pride. We're allowing Satan to take all of these things away from us. Aunt Jemima on the bottle of syrup. You got to be kidding me, right? Through all adversity and all the horrible things that was going on during her era, we're going to pull her face off of the syrup that she so rightly deserves to be on iconically forever? That's horrible. And then Satan is so smart, he got everyone to agree with it. What? Satan is a genius. He twisted it around so much to turn it into something that it wasn't? She was a multimillionaire. Her face was on this syrup. I mean, she's long since passed away, but why would we ever take her face off of it? But Satan twisted it just enough to remove her. Twisted Christmas just enough for you all to say, if you put a tree in your house, you go to hell. Hold on. What are you guys talking about? Stop doing that stuff. That is not salvation. Salvation by not hanging a tree up, and salvation by taking Aunt Jemima off of the thing. Salvation by not respecting the rainbow anymore. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Salvation is by the blood of Christ and Christ alone. Stop worrying about all the other stuff. You're wasting time worrying about stuff that really is irrelevant. The only relevancy here is what Jesus did, and Jesus alone and nothing else. And we just keep going on with this insane stuff. And I'm really, Kevin says it's bots. Bots are doing this. They get in there and they cause people to respond. Don't even respond to those things. Kevin goes in and just deletes them because he doesn't even think they're humans. He thinks that it's a bot going in there to divert people's attention away from what's being spoken of and to turn it. Guess what? The earth is flat. I don't care. What does that have to do with the blood of Christ? We don't need any of that stuff. We need to go in and say and make comments with a heart. I try to respond to good comments. I actually had a really good discussion with a fella. Let me see if I can find him. This is the kind of discussion I like having with people right here. Let me see if I can find his name. It was an awesome discussion. His name is Skip. His name is Skip, and he and I had a back and forth. And for a moment, as we went back and forth, he's like, let me look at this real quick. Let me see what Skip said. He says, I have an issue now. Good, good. I like that. Doesn't hate me. He doesn't tell me I'm an idiot. He doesn't tell me that I'm going to hell because I don't think the way he thinks. He says, I have an issue. 2 Thessalonians 2:3, saying it's the rapture is not. He's right. I agree with that. That is not the rapture. That word in Greek, 646, is apostasia. Now, I'm trying to explain to him that there are two words in Greek. One's apostasy, one's apostasia. One means departure, one means falling away. Either way. And I tried to express this, and Skip, if you're listening, I tried to express this to you. I don't care which way it is. I don't care if it's falling away or departure. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not here in 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians is written to the tribulation saint. So we go on. We have a decent little conversation, and I begin to realize or begin to think that, let me get down here to the bottom. Let's see here. I get down here to the bottom. And I say, and I ask him, I'm like, because I'm beginning to think that I'm dealing with a tribulation saint. He's articulate and he's nice. He's not mean about his comments. And he says, why? And I ask him, why is it so important for you to make certain we will be here until there's a great falling away and the man of sin is revealed? Don't you believe in a pre-tribulational rapture? And then he responds, he says, I do. Devil's advocate, I guess. He's trying to clarify 2 Thessalonians, and he's playing devil's advocate, which I like that. That's awesome. And everybody knows that simply means that he's asking the hard questions to get to perhaps where I'm coming from. And this is where I'm coming from. 2 Thessalonians is not a rapture, has nothing to do with us. We will not be here to see any of it. 2 Thessalonians is written to the tribulation saint and the Jew. They will see, and I don't care how you decipher it or change it, they will see an apostasy or an apostasy. I sent it to him. I said we're going back and forth, but we're both in agreement. It's under semantics is the difference here. We're just under semantics. Who cares if it's a great falling away or if it's a departure? Look, from our perspective, number one, we won't be here. To Elijah and Elisha saw a departure of Elisha. The 50 prophets that hung back saw a falling away. They assumed that he had fallen out of the sky back on top of a mountain. And they said, Elisha, you're in charge now. We're going to put a team together and try to go find him. And he said, no, you're wasting your time. He knew where he went. He saw a departure. The rest of the prophets saw a falling away. And they're like, maybe God dropped him. He fell away. God picked him up and dropped him on top of a mountain somewhere. either way, does it matter to Elijah, who has been raptured? No, it's no. Elijah doesn't care. He's gone. Now, Elisha knew what happened because he saw it. So I say the reason the word is used, apostasia or apostasy, and both could be interlinked or intertwined, is because some people are going to know that this was a departure, and some people are going to think that this was a falling away, that all of the churches now are devoid of any Christians, because what's left are people who think you have to work for your salvation. And then a grassroots how do you call it, a grassroots thing is going to begin, where people are like, whoa, wait a sec. That was a departure. They were raptured. And that's where our information comes in after we leave. So thank you for the comments, Skip. And yeah, I thought for a second there, I was like, why is it so important to you? Why do you care? You're not going to be here, right? Or are you thinking that this event has to happen before we leave? And I got my answer. He's playing devil's advocate. So, oh, and I'm over here, but all right, talking too much tonight. Sorry. I saw this, somebody, and you probably know better than I do who made this video, but it was amazing. So was it Tabernacle of the Bride? I always get Tabernacle of the Bride confused with something Christ. Let me go look because I don't want to misspeak. Let's see here. I have over 300 people in here. It's going to take me forever to find him, but he does such amazing work, and I want to tell you who did this work, and if I remember correctly, who it was. JX Lovely was the girl that explained Christmas. Very good video she just made. Really enjoyed it. JX Lovely, you can find her on YouTube, explaining Christmas and why everybody's getting hung up on something. I'm never going to find this. I've got 300 in here. I'm never going to find this. Brother Dana. Stacey Williams is a new one that I've been watching lately. Really good stuff. Dr. Chris. Carol Vay. You listen to Carol Vay? I love her work. Let's see here. Yeah, I can't. I don't. Truth in Christ? Is it Truth in Christ? Tabernacle of the Bride, Truth in Christ. Let me see. Yeah, it's Truth in Christ. Very, very good, very good value. He actually has 104,000 subscribers, so he's a bigger channel than me, but he did a whole thing on this. He's the one that goes in and does the math in the Bible. Spectacular. But he finds the 666th mention of Jesus actually turns out to be a false prophet, a Jew whose name is Bar Jesus. And I think a lot of people have actually touched on this. So very good. Truth in Christ. I stole this from Billy Train. He does a lot of posts on Facebook, and I'm gonna have to explain to these people stealing your pictures. But it's such a good picture. This is the picture I'm going to use on the front of the thing here. So here I am listening to Watchman on the Wall. Is it Chad? Watchman on the Wall, and I'm listening to him, right? I'm 5 minutes and 36 seconds into his video, and something tells me to pull my phone out of my pocket, and that's what I see. It keeps happening, and I wish I could tell you what it means and why I keep seeing it, but it has something to do with the rapture. I know it does. It's not November the 11th, so I don't know what it means, but we're all seeing it. Notification means another earthquake happened. And Chad was talking about Jesus, the only way to heaven, and he's correct. I love the way he teaches. So I saw this on Facebook. It's in Whack Pack. This is, Wackadoodle Simone's original Facebook, and she puts a lot of posts in here. And she said, "I just had a vision, you guys. In my vision, I was feeling completely down and hopeless about when he would return. And that's, I think, really tugs at the heart of all of us. Honestly, we're all like, what's going on? How do we not understand this yet? And so she puts in here, I said, and this really touched my heart. This was awesome. I said, if we have to wait any longer, I don't know what I'm going to do. I felt my heart breaking. I could hear myself crying in my spirit. I could feel myself worrying. Then I felt a large, gentle hand on my right hand. I saw Jesus in a white robe beside me. He immediately said, please don't give up on me. Can you imagine the God of the universe telling you, please don't give up on me? What is it? And she says, of course, my heart felt like it sunk into his hands. And I heard my own thoughts. I'm not giving up on you, Jesus, just on myself. And literally, when we think or give up on the concept of the pre-tribulational rapture, once saved, always saved, you got to do work to get saved. When we start thinking those things or giving up on those things, Jesus literally feels like she saw in her vision that we're giving up on him. And we simply aren't. We're giving up on our own ability and our own understanding, uh, our own ability to get to the rapture day because we just don't know what it is. I've heard so many teach this, and I love it when they do, and that is very simply, we don't know what it is because God doesn't want Satan to know what it is because he's going to try to get us at the moment of our transformation. And I think we're vulnerable at that moment between, and it's an instant, true, but Satan's very fast. He is an angel of light, so he's as fast as light. And if he knew the exact moment, he might actually be able to do us harm. So God is keeping this moment, and the Bible says it expressly that Satan's there waiting to devour us. He is going to attempt to be there. So God is going to do this at a moment when nobody expects, but he's going to, in Amos 3:7, warn us. And again, I think from our human body to the flash of a twinkling of an eye, the flash of an instant, of a moment, of lightning, we are changed. But there's a moment in there where we might be vulnerable. And I think that's why God is holding this date so close to him to protect us. So just remember that when we can't figure this date out, it's not because we're of our inability to understand. We can't figure this out because God's doing this to protect us. And Amos 3:7 ultimately will be, you'll know close. And we do. We know that we're so close. Is it years away, months away? I don't think so. I think it's moments away. But we're so close to this date. We just have to, like I said, God's keeping it close to him. Very good post. Really enjoyed this. No, Jesus, we're not giving up on you. And we're going to continue to try to figure this out. I absolutely love that post. And as we say, I give up. There is no pre-tribulational rapture. The rapture, the seals will be open, but that's not the judgment. No, you're giving up. Stick to your guns. Know what you know. Hang on to it. Don't throw it away. And know that and know that you're actually Jesus through this vision is actually thinking you're giving up on him. And we just can't. We just have to keep pushing forward and keep trying to figure this out because he wants us to. I know he wants us to. We all feel this desire to. This is the picture I took when I Googled the difference between apostasy and apostasia, and therefore contextually appears to make sense to translate apostasia as departure, rapture versus apostasy or falling away. So let me see here. Let me keep going. You see where I'm at on the thing. Got a lot of pictures left. Yeah, I don't know why I have that in there still. All right. Now, again, I don't want to get to December the 24th, and I'll talk obviously more about it if we do. But if we do, I want you to notice the day where time begins to get longer. The day becomes longer. I know there's a passage somewhere where Jesus says that the night stops and the days we get longer. And it actually turns out 3.5 days later, 84 hours later, after this moment in time, is when Jesus was conceived. Think about that. Jesus was conceived 84 hours later. Jesus died on the cross, and 84 hours later, he rose, 3.5 days. I believe that when God says 3 days, it's not 4 days. 84 hours is not 4 days. So it's 3 days. It's 3.5 days. And so we have that example in there. This is where I saw Harry Stone. He made a video, and I see these numbers, and I've been asking for a long time. I don't know what 47 and 45 means. Why did Adam sin 47 days after the head of the year of September the 15th, or Tishri 1, until Heshvan 17? But then God didn't remove him, because he actually became concerned that if he ate of the tree of life, he would live forever. Why did God remove him 45 days later? And then he does this, and I was like, oh, Trump is the 45th president and the 47th president. Doesn't that kind of match? I don't do a lot of stuff like that matches, but when that jumped off the page, I was like, well, wait a second, that actually matches. So I made it, and I enlarged it. This is this up. I wish that would stop doing that, but this is Tishri 1. 47 days later, on Heshvan 17, Adam sins. And 45 days later, Adam's removed from the garden on the first day of the fourth month of his time, or the first day of the ninth month for our time. Is that right? Is that the ninth month? Heshvan, Kislev. Oh, the 10th month. Sorry, the 10th month from the first day he's removed. And he's removed after Hanukkah finishes. So Hanukkah actually means something in the center of Hanukkah, but I got to wait 3 weeks. I got to wait about 21 days to see anything. So I'm going to be hanging on to your every word out there as you study to see if you found something, because I go quiet here again for about 3 weeks. I noticed this. I took a screenshot. I don't do a lot of this either, but I noticed that the moon crosses the line of Aquarius on Hanukkah. December the 8th is always Hanukkah. I think it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is Israel time. The moon, half of a moon, crosses the line, because I don't want to wait till December the 25th. And I don't want to wait till December the 8th, but this is actually Hanukkah, and the moon crosses over, and Saturn is right there with the moon. And it's half. And Kevin's always said that if the rapture he believes is going to happen, it's not going to be a full moon. It's not going to be on a sliver moon or no moon. He thinks the moon would be half and half, representing half the bride and half the tribulation saint right there. And I noticed that it crosses that line of Aquarius on Hanukkah. I took it one step further. Saturn actually crosses that line on Christmas Day, when the Jews say is Hanukkah. Moon's not in view, but Venus is coming into view. So they kind of match. The Saturn begins to cross that line at that time. So this moon thing might be God confusing Satan. Not that Satan did all of this to confuse us, but maybe God did this to confuse Satan as to when these things actually are. Because, do we use the Hebrew calendar? Do we use what I think is the correct calendar? I don't know. So, Messiah 2030. Calm down, everybody. You see the first comment down here. False teaching. The churches will not be here during the time of Jacob's trouble. And this person that made this comment is accurate. Try to leave out the false teaching stuff. You don't want to make a judgment call just because he needs to change his title so that he can stay within the parameters of the 7 years to 2031, and he'll be back in the parameters of the 7 year tribulation. And this commenter is actually correct. The tribulation is 7 years. God cuts the time short and takes people out of here before the 7 years are complete. That's up to God. This tribulation is 7 years. It's not six, it's seven. We all know Jacob's 70th week is the 7 years. We all know that. Nothing changes. And it is for the Jew, which is why I'm partially convinced the rapture of the bride will take place. And then everyone else, as they die, will appear in heaven and they will be the tribulation saints. That's, and I think it'll happen fairly quickly because I think that the world after the rapture will be in turmoil. Everybody will think somebody else did something with a nuke, and they'll all start throwing nukes, and it's going to be pretty wild. And the United States will be just obliterated and over with, which I think is by design, honestly, because I think that these people are so entrenched worldly with their money, they could care less if the United States is destroyed anyway. That was the last picture. I thought I had a lot more. All right. So talk your ear off. I wanted to calm you down with that video. I'm not putting Messiah 2030 down at all. He does a lot of good work, and he's brought out a lot of good things that we've all used towards our own math. Um, the tribulation has not begun. The seals are not open, and in 2027, I believe he said, is when he has to wait now for the rapture because no, just no. So we're seeing everything come together right now. So anyway, go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody except the Lord in your heart. And if you hear something that like that just goes completely against the grain, it's because it goes completely against the grain. It's completely against everything that we've ever learned out of the Bible. So I will never be. I will not. I will not never be with. I forget how Josh put that on End Times Talk. Said I will never not be without my rapture water. So anyway, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please subscribe to those channels I told you about. Go ahead and subscribe to Messiah 2030, but take out what's good and leave out what's not, and hold firm to what you know. Hold firm to what you know, and you know very well that this rapture is going to occur before the tribulation begins. And if you are thoroughly convinced that there is no rapture or that it's going to occur halfway through the tribulation or at the end of the tribulation, then you are a tribulation saint. You will be here during the tribulation. This is a choice that you've made clearly because of what you want to have happen. That there's something here you're hanging on to. There's something here on this earth that you would prefer to have as opposed to just leaving. And hopefully this video has given you encouragement and strength. And I felt like very quickly I needed to get out here. I'm off all weekend, so I felt like very quickly I needed to get out here and dispel any idea that that we're going to have to wait till 2027 now because his date's wrong. And I'm sorry again. I'm not being disrespectful to the channel. Just telling you that mathematically it's an inaccurate statement that we just need to look back, revisit these 7 years, revisit the fact that we will not see any seals open, and let's make a new video and explain that perhaps he needed to come at it a different way to understand. So Repo Man 64, we will chat with you all again later. Like Chris over at Global Rapture Watcher says, and uh, I have a mind for numbers, but when it comes to names, I am completely at a loss. So now I have to go in and find her channel because Watchwoman 65, Lisa Boyce, both of them are find stuff that honestly the rest of us don't find, and I listen to them intently every time they make a video, and they make two or three a day, and I really like that. And but they're the ones right now that I'm leaning on because they're seeing the world events transpire, and they can put those world events to biblical events and showing that the rapture is not going to happen in 2027. That there's just no way that it's going to take that long. There's a jet flying over. Chris said that there's really loud too. Chris Chris says that there's a couple of them up there. Wow. I don't think you guys can hear it on my noise canceling mic, but it's super loud. Um, Chris says that based on what he's seeing, that there's not much more time, and I guess he's gotten some inside information that he can't quite share with us yet. I'm kind of listening to every episode that he has to hopefully enlighten us as to that type of stuff. Again, we're going to see it in earthquakes. We're going to see it in world events. We're going to see it in the Bible. We're going to see it numerically. We're going to see it in the clouds. People are having visions. All of this, take it all and know that every bit of it's a piece of the puzzle and try to assemble it and figure out when it is. So we will see you all in heaven or in the next video, whichever comes first. Uh, Everybody have a wonderful day.